Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Careers Podcast. In today's episode, we're going to be diving into the world of allied health, and today's guest, George Stefan from Health Results, is here to share some interesting insights and services that him and his team have been working on to help reshape how individuals can go about regaining control over their health. So, without further ado, George, thanks for taking the time to join me today. How are you?
Great. How are you?
I'm excellent. I would be better if it was a little bit cooler climate-wise, but it's nothing that AC or a fan can't fix. So now in today's episode, we are going to jump into what you and your team are working on. And I think before we get into there, the best place to start is a bit about your background as a nutritionist. Not on LinkedIn, it was on your email footer, and in our preliminary chat, you were talking about how you're a functional nutritionist. Now, one of the first things I wanted to ask you is, what is the difference between a functional nutritionist and a clinical nutritionist?
So a clinical nutritionist specializes in treating health conditions and is a lot more, it's closer to a dietitian model where a dietitian is actually allowed to treat a disease, right?
Okay.
A functional nutritionist, we're not allowed to diagnose, but we're allowed to look at what risk markers a person has and help them to correct those markers.
So you're primed to be a consultant with the line of work that you're doing as a functional nutritionist. Okay. And when it comes to study, what have you studied in this field?
Okay. So I guess I started my independent studies in 1998, but I didn't finish my degree until 2018. And I continue to do between 2 and 5 hours a week of independent studies on health, especially longevity and metabolic health. And we've got a clinical nutritionist who's also the operations manager. Yeah, that's my background on that.
Wonderful. And when it comes to nutrition in general, what led you down that path originally? Like, why did you go, yes, this is the path that I want to take?
Look, it actually started because of self-interest. I was extremely fit. I was very, very heavily into martial arts, extremely fit, but I had a lot of gut and inflammation issues when I was younger. And I found that the only thing that really ended up helping me was revamping my nutrition so that those gut and health issues have been put into a remission where they really don't affect my quality of life anymore.
Right. So you went out independently to find your own solution to the issues that you're having. And did you actually go to doctors to try and figure out what was wrong?
Absolutely. Yeah. Like a bunch of, and unfortunately, none of them could come up with anything. And it was a lot of reading. And I read conservatively over 5,000 independent articles, books, and journals, but it's probably closer to 10,000. I did 15 years of serious research to try and come up with some answers to the point where I could,
This might be an ignorant question for me to ask as well, and it wasn't on the question list, but is this type of thing how, the idea of IBS is born? Because a lot of people have IBS or diagnosed IBS with no real cause. Is it just a label that doctors have gone, oh, look, I don't know what's wrong with you.
Yeah.
This is what it is.
Exactly.
Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. So exactly as you said, it's really a question of people have got health issues, and often the system is not set up to cope with that. So they go out looking for independent answers. And IBS is one of those ones where they're just, they've been plagued with this thing for 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 years, unable to get answers. And they go out and find the answers themselves eventually, many of them.
Now, and I would also say it's not because doctors aren't bothered, but would it be more of a strain on the health system to go down the rabbit hole and really find out all of these details?
Absolutely.
Okay.
The doctors would like to really help their patients, and most of them are pretty patient-centered, but the system is not set up to. The system doesn't allow enough testing and enough diagnosis time for that doctor. So they do a mandatory sort of 15 marker blood test, and from that, they're supposed to try and figure out what's going on. And that, for most people, that's not even 1% of their health. It's way less.
Sounds like a massive gap in the market right there.
It is. It's massive. Yeah.
And before Health Results, so what were you doing for work within this field as a functional nutritionist? Can you paint that picture for me?
Yeah. So before that, I was actually in the health and fitness industry, and I owned gyms, and I was trying to help people in that space. And many of the people going to gyms weren't getting the answers that they were hoping to get from just going to gym. you've heard the old mantra, eat clean and just really train really hard and you'll be fine. Well, that works for a subset of the population, but not for everybody.
Yeah. And because everyone's body's different, like not all the foods that are on offer or that get those big muscles are going to work for everyone either, are they?
Exactly. And yeah, that's right. And like you said, it doesn't work for everyone. And it's some people, they go to gym, they train, they do this, they do that, and it works brilliantly. And then they go out and say, all you really have to do is eat clean and train hard because look, I've done it. It's got to work for you too, but it doesn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And working in the gyms, were you doing personal training or teaching martial arts, or were you just the owner? Like, how was that set up?
I was the owner, but I was also doing nutrition for people that wanted it, and also a little bit of personal training, but more nutrition. And I just found that I really loved, and I was so passionate about the health side more so than the fitness. I love the fitness side, but it wasn't helping that subset of people who were coming in and saying, hey, I've been doing exactly what I've been told for 12 months and nothing shifted. Help me.
Yeah.
But there weren't enough of those. And I thought, you know what? I found more people on the outside of the gym that wanted that help. And that's why I guess ventured into the fully specialized area of functional nutrition for health.
Would it be correct to say like the catalyst for you switching into this was you noticing and actually getting stimulated of helping people with those personalized nutrition plans?
Yes, really.
Okay.
Yeah, the satisfaction is just amazing. I mean, it's one thing to help someone to get ready for a competition in 6 months, and it's another thing to have someone come in and say, you know what, 6 months ago, I was full on, I was riddled with arthritis and I couldn't work and I couldn't do anything fun and I was almost bedridden, and look at me now. And they're like a new person. It's just, it's mind-blowing.
The old adage of you are what you eat. Let's go to health results as a brand or a business.
Sure.
How did this all formulate? Like, how did you link up with all of these other professionals that you're working with that are in the allied health space?
Okay. So the catalyst for all of this was really that we looked at the industry, the allied health industry, and to a degree we looked at the medical industry and went, okay, so most of the medical industry is focused on the standard 15 marker blood test. The allied health industry is very heavily focused on symptoms, and there is some blood testing goes on. And then we said, well, hang on, but neither of these seem to really pinpoint what the problem is, because we found on the clients that you pinpoint the problem, easy to solve, very easy to solve, right?
Okay.
So that's why we said, let's have 100% evidence fact, no more guessing. Let's really assess what is their DNA saying? What are their hormones saying? What is their blood saying? And that's...
Can I ask you a question too? Why is it just the 15 markers that are on a general blood test and not all of these other ones?
Unfortunately, that's because Medicare won't pay for much more than that unless you go in with other symptoms. So if you go in and say, I've had these pounding headaches for 6 months, then the doctor is allowed to then say, well, I'm going to send you in for a brain scan, right? But if you don't go in saying that, I've just had some headaches, you're not going to get a brain scan. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so on. And it goes on with everything like that. Yeah.
So, and the testing that you guys do down there is a lot more rigorous. So can you give me a bit of an idea of what that actually looks like when you're working with a client?
Sure. So what we do is essentially we start with symptoms. So we look at the symptoms. We do this really big symptom questionnaire, and then we do blood tests that do DNA. So we only have to do the DNA once in their life, right? And that tells us all of their tendencies, how they methylate nutrients. Methylate means how they process nutrients, what their body does with those nutrients. It just tells us everything about how much fast twitch muscle fiber, et cetera, et cetera. So DNA tells us the starting point. We then go to hormones and we go through every hormone, thyroid, everything, the endocrine hormones, all of them. And then we go through and say, okay, your blood, what does your blood show us for nutrients? Your DNA said you're likely to have low vitamin D. Your hormone said Yes, a couple of your hormones are low, but now your blood tests, nutrients confirm it, and we know
Mm.
100% how much to give you.
It really is. It sounds like the whole picture gets presented.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Alrighty. And so in our preliminary chat as well, you were talking about a couple of the avatars that you guys serve really well. And one that jumped out to me was the executives and the new program that you've just been developing for this type of person. Can you paint a picture of what these executives that are burnt out look like when they come to you? Like, give us a really clear picture.
Yeah. So the main issue that comes up is that their stress is really chronic and high level. So it's chronic as in long term and high level as in it's affecting everything. It's affecting their sleep. It's
Mhm.
affecting their relationship. It's even affecting their career to some degree.
Yeah.
And yeah, more than 40% of them are what's called toffees, thin outside, fat inside. So yeah,
A
yeah.
toffee.
Coffee,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. It's a non-technical term, but it is literally thin outside, fat inside. So they don't look fat, but they've got a lot of visceral fat because of the stress levels. And almost 50% of executives, the stats show, close to or actually burned out. And yeah, they have the usual, like 44% of the population has a genetic variant which impacts their methylation of nutrients, how they process nutrients.
Just a quick note on that. So, what do you think it is causing these executives to get so burnt out? Because those stats seem quite big. So, I mean, I can attest to this. The landscape at the moment, specifically in business, like keeping up with social media, AI, all of this stuff, while it's really great and there's lots of opportunity,
Yes.
it's actually a lot to keep up with. Is that playing a role in this?
It is. I think so. Yeah, I think you're on the money 100%. And then what they do, almost all of them, they try to fix that by going to the gym and doing these go hard or go home style programs where they're, really high intensity, 45 minutes to an hour, almost just absolutely torching themselves to where they can't move. And they see that as helping, and it's just completely not helping. It's actually harming them.
Yeah, literally burning the candle at both ends. So that's what they look like when they present. They're
Sure.
stressed, frazzled, holding lots of visceral fat. They're tired. Their relationships may be breaking down. But when they come to you, what's the first step? How does it look when you start helping these people specifically with this newer program that you've been working on?
Okay, so we do their full symptoms questionnaire, then we do full blood testing with DNA, hormone, and the nutrients.
Mm-hmm.
We have other tests that we can do. We can do anything all the way up to scans and MRIs, but we generally, for most people, that's enough. We often do gut microbiome as well, especially if they've got gut issues. And so that's the first step. The second one is we get results back, we analyze them, and we know there's no more guessing. There's an old adage, I'm sure you've heard, don't guess, assess.
Yeah, 100%. The testing's one part of it, but are you their buddy along the whole way? Like, are you with them doing Zoom calls, meeting
That's
them
right.
in person? Do
That's
they
right.
come to the clinic?
Yeah, so we're one of the few that does the whole 3-step process. So we don't just do the full testing, but we also then know 100% all of their risk markers. And then we put together a 100% personalised evidence-based program. And we buddy up with them and provide a support program initially over 14 to 20 weeks, depending on what they select. And we have at least a 95, probably closer to 98% success rate where these people are really completely revamped their health. Completely. Yeah.
That's amazing, actually. That's a really good hit rate.
It's a very good hit rate. Yeah. And even for the one or two that we haven't quite hit all the goals, but they still get massive improvements, but we haven't hit all the goals, and I feel like that's not good enough.
I don't even know why I sound surprised by a good hit rate though, because when you actually do things properly, like really go through data, it's very hard to not get a result.
Yeah.
Like if we be real about it, with anything, if you really assess something well, making a good decision of what you do next and getting a good outcome, it's a no-brainer. Really.
Yeah. Yeah.
How long will getting results in a program like this usually take? What can someone reasonably expect?
Look, a typical client, one of these they typically lose around 10 kilos over 14, 16 weeks, sometimes 18. Yep. So they lose
That's
10.
Huge.
Yeah. So they lose 10 kilos. But the big change for most of them is their sleep improves. Many of them are getting 30 minutes of REM or under, and 30 minutes of deep sleep or under. Now, the optimum number is 90 minutes of each.
Okay.
So they're
Per
getting
night.
a third a night, yeah. So they should be getting 90 minutes of REM, 90 minutes of deep, and they're getting a third of that roughly. So we usually turn that around to where they're getting between 60 and 90 minutes a night of each.
This is another side question that's just naturally come up for me.
Yeah.
So when I hear you say REM and deep, like I go, what is that? That's the first thing that pops up for me, being a non-health professional. And I would just label things like, oh, deep sleep. Did I wake up and feel good? But is there a more like scientific term for these things? What is it?
Yeah. So REM is rapid eye movement sleep. And it's basically a phase where, your actual eyelids can flutter and your eyes are moving.
Wow.
But it's not the deep sleep, but you still need both phases. You need a REM and you need a deep sleep. The deep sleep is where your body's really resting. And if you get 90 minutes of that, you will feel amazing. 90 minutes of deep. And if you also get 90 minutes of REM, you'll just feel amazing, as opposed to 30 and 30. You'll feel like you've kind of slept, but you're not sure how long.
Okay. What's actually happening in the body when REM's happening or deep sleep?
Oh, REM is sort of the pathway to getting you there into that deep sleep. But what's happening in the body is that it's starting to do a process called autophagy, which means it's cleaning out cells. It's cleaning itself out. Without that, autophagy just doesn't happen. And the brain is rewiring itself. The brain is cleaning itself out, rewiring itself. The metabolic organs are getting a break, resting. The heart is getting, it's proven that the heart is resting way better because the heart rests with heart rate variability. It takes little micro breaks between each heartbeat. And the better your sleep, the better your HRV or heart rate variability.
Yeah. So without REM and deep sleep, we've just got dirty cells, basically.
Absolutely. Exactly.
Yeah, no, so it's very important. Do you know what's actually interesting? Just hearing you talk then, 90 minutes actually sounds quite small. Like it sounds like you don't actually need a whole heap to actually feel a benefit from sleep. So sleep quality over length of time, am I getting that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And for most people, that means you need around a total time of around 7.5 hours. But there's about 10% of the population that can do that 90 minutes plus 90 minutes in like 5 or 6 hours. Yeah, they're the lucky ones.
Yeah.
But I'm not.
I'm going to be looking into this now. You've taught me some stuff. Can you share an example of a star client that you've been working with lately and how you've managed to turn the results around for them with what you're doing?
Okay. So just to give you an example, we had an exec who was really ultra fit looking, and I mean really, really fit. And there wasn't an ounce of, as far as we could tell, visibly wasn't an ounce of fat on him. He was doing
a toffee.
Yeah, he was a toffee. He was doing between 7 and 9 hours a week of exercise, cycling, and all this other stuff, gym. But he was always tired. And so he said, look, I don't know what's going on. This doesn't make any sense. And what do I do? So we did the testing. We came back and he had a number of health issues going on, but essentially he was pre-diabetic, right?
Wow.
And he had all these risk markers that were elevated. Inflammation was off the charts. So, we put together a program, helped him implement it over 14 weeks. Within about 4 months, might have been just over 4 months, he lost 11 kilograms, which to this day I don't believe. To this day is like almost unbelievable because his shape didn't change one bit. He was...
Yeah. Where was it?
Visceral. It was all visceral fat.
Visceral.
High stress, lifestyle, visceral fat, and it was killing him. It was literally killing him.
And so he was able to turn that around, lose 11 kilos of visceral fat that he didn't even know he had. And how did he present after that time?
So his blood markers improved out of sight. We did it, I think it was about 5-6 months after we started. We did his blood markers again, and they were just amazing. His sleep improved. He went from that sort of less than 30 minutes of each phase per night to at least 60 minutes per night. And his doctor, who'd been trying to figure out what was going on for like probably 2.5 years, said,
Man,
I think what you've done is avoided an autoimmune condition and certainly type 2 diabetes.
that's incredible,
Yeah,
actually.
yeah.
2 years versus how long was it, did you say, that you worked
Just
with him?
over 4 months. We retested him in 5 and a bit months.
That is wild, actually.
Yeah,
2 years versus just under 5 months.
yeah. It completely changed revamped his life. And
Yeah.
yeah, he just went from barely getting through the day to like now, I mean, he's just like super, super healthy, super fit. And he doesn't look much different. He looks
Yeah.
maybe a little bit better color in the face, but otherwise he doesn't look any different. And you just think,
I think that just
wow,
highlights it's not actually about how you look, it's about how
yeah,
you feel.
how you feel. Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100.
Yeah.
Okay, and in your view, so for people like this man that were, appearing to be highly functioning, really underneath, really stressing out, really having a hard time, what's at stake for these people if they keep ignoring their bodies?
Look, I don't want to sound alarmist, but I mean, chronic conditions, and if you want to include, obesity in that or just overweight and that sort of thing, they're a 20-year journey. People say, oh, at 44 years of age, I got diagnosed with whatever it is. No, no,
Mm-hmm.
no, no. You've had this more than likely since your 20s, or it started in your 20s, right?
Yeah.
And so that's what's at stake. It's really why get diagnosed, or if you have been diagnosed, why function at 50% when you could lift that? You're never going to get it maybe to 100%, but you might get it to 95% of what you were, or 97%.
Mm.
Why not?
Then when I hear that, I go, you're so right. Like, why are we waiting so long to do preventative measures like this?
It really is. It's a monetary issue too. I mean, just to give you an example, I had a lady who was spending $100 a month on pre and probiotics, and I said to her, "How long have you been doing that for?" Oh, about 10 years. So we tested her. And she brought the probiotics in, and I said, "See these test results? This is actually harmful. What you're taking is harming you." And she couldn't
Mm.
believe it. She said, so she'd wasted $12,000 over 10 years.
And like a bottle of In Health Plus is $60.
Yep, absolutely.
Over 10 years, that's a big bill.
That's a very big bill. And so, yeah, and I mean, we were able to resolve all those issues with a fraction of that. And, vitamin B, I'll give you another example. 44% of the population has got an MTHFR gene mutation. We won't go into in a great deal, but it essentially means that mutation stops you from processing vitamin B properly. So
Right.
there's people taking multivitamins you might as well just give that money to an next door neighbor or donate it to a charity.
Or throw it in the bin.
Throw it in the bin, exactly.
Well, because if it's going to affect you long term and it's going to put your health in the bin, that's literally what you're doing. You're paying to go the other way.
Yeah, and folic acid, they're reading, I'm low on vitamin B, so I need to get more folic acid. Well, guess what? If you've got that gene mutation, if you're the 44% of the population with it, you're getting more folic acid is poisoning you, and it's literally poisoning you. And no wonder you're feeling worse every year. So no, don't get that good stuff. You need to take the right stuff. Yeah.
Are there any other interesting people that you serve? Because obviously these executives, I feel like they're the most relevant and pricked my ears up the most because I feel like I see that a lot, exactly what you were talking about. But obviously there's a broader scope of people that can benefit from this. So who are you seeing come in the doors?
We see a lot of 40 to 55-year-old females that they've often juggled a really grueling work family schedule for decades, and they're just absolutely, for want of a better word, they're burnt out, and they're pre or perimenopausal, typically have low iron, have an iron deficiency, gained some weight, they've got mild osteoporosis, low vitamin. That's a very huge I mean, it's a monstrous sized demographic. That's just huge.
Yeah. And how is it usually manifesting in their life? So obviously you can say the common characteristic is their hormones are low or they've got low iron, but what's actually happening on the surface, the symptomatic part of it?
Number one, low energy. They're all manifesting with low energy. I'm just tired all the time. That's the comment we hear day in, day out.
Okay. And then obviously that, just having low energy, it impacts absolutely everything that comes next, doesn't it?
Everything. It just,
Yeah.
takes the quality out of their life, and they're operating on 30, 40, maybe 50% if they're lucky. And and you can reverse that, 14 to 20 weeks. If you can reverse all of that, 14 weeks is the most common. And it just changes their quality of life. Their quality of life improves doubles or triples.
One thing also that's coming up for me, I could actually see a real value in educational resources around this, because if you think about even the lady that you were just talking about, raising a family, everything starts with education. So if these people can see true results with what you're providing, it gives them an opportunity to tell and ingrain it in the next generation that they need to take a little bit more of a precise look at who they are and what's in the family. So have you got educational resources out there at all about this?
We are looking at doing that, but that's sort of the next phase. The only educational resource, when I say we do have a book called the Women's Anti-Inflammatory Diet Book, right?
Okay.
And that has, so I'm a co-author on that, and that has some really good recipes that are low inflammation, which again help with all of these issues.
We'll put that in the show notes, actually.
Yeah, that'll be great. Thank you. Yeah. And so that's probably the main one. And we're just about to finish our second book, which is going to be like a manual for the number one weight loss manual written in the last 10 years.
Nice.
It will be the most advanced. Yeah.
I think I should have asked this a bit earlier, but the other professionals that you're working with, you've got you as a functional nutritionist. We've got a clinical nutritionist. Who else do we have in the mix?
And we've got an exercise physio who's in the background, not full-time for us, but consulting. And then we're also looking at, in the next 12 months, at bringing on a medical doctor. So just really to have those discussions, because we refuse to get involved we're not allowed to get involved in discussions around medication. So as soon as it's a discussion around medication, we have to send them back. And that means often in a 14-week time frame, we're sending them back to their doctor 3 times because they're getting so much better that it's like, actually, you might be overdosing. Go and see a doctor. Yeah.
Okay. Very cool.
Yeah.
Now, this is just to wrap up as well. This one's for anybody out there that wants to get into natural health or allied health, and they want to do something in the same line of work as you. They may not want to do exactly what you're doing, but something in the sphere of what you're doing. What's one solid piece of advice that you would give that person?
Focus on the need of the person. We really reverse engineered everything and went, well, what is the issue here? What's the real issue? What's the solution for that? Because if you're focusing on the studies and, let's just focus on the study. A lot of what I learned during my nutrition studies was actually incorrect, right?
Right.
Not a lot, but some of it was incorrect. It was like, this is wrong. This is not true. The old adage of eat everything in moderation. You can't get
more. It's a bit general.
Yeah, it's very general. Exactly. It doesn't deal with the individuals. And also, what skill set can I bring to this and be 100% evidence-based? Do not go on, I think. Here's what I think. It's not important. What's really important is you have this deficiency or this toxicity, and these are 100% the interventions that are going to help you fix this.
That's solid. And I think it's really cool, everything that you guys are doing down there, and how even those success stories, like they're even something that they're just inspiring as a rule of thumb, really.
Thank you.
For anybody that wants to come and, learn more about you, we are going to put things in the show notes, but let's say people just want to type directly into Google. What are they typing in when they look for you?
Pulse.com.au, that's our website. Go and have a look at what we do. All of our processes are explained on there, I hope, fairly clearly. We don't often have a lot of room, but they can go on the waiting list if they like.
Excellent. All right, George. Well, thank you so much for your time today. And you have a good one.
Thank you.